The George Washington University, at the intersection of policy, practice, and research, connecting all that Washington has to offer with an intellectual environment that drives progress, transforming vision into action, offering learning experiences that are rigorous, real-time, and real-world. In a city shaping the future, George Washington is a place where faculty and students don't just study the world, they work to change it.
Welcome back, everybody, to the third week of EGFC. My name is Keela Miles, joined again by the lovely Soy, as we are getting into yet another match with George Washington University taking on Wichita State. Now, we talked a lot about this already, Soy, and we're getting right into the match. A little bit behind, but that's no worry, because George Washington University fielding Jacko83 on this Terry. He's going to be the team captain of Wichita State coming out.
Yeah, Geonosis was one of the names we saw a lot of last year, and a lot of Wichita State's roster is returning from last year, but they were one of those teams that was kind of middle of the pack. And Jocko, we saw last week, looked really good on this Terry. And this matchup, it feels like it's going to be a problem for Geonosis.
Yeah, I mean, both of these characters kind of, if you're playing them to their peaks, to their strengths, kind of have that touch of death feeling. But when you just keep getting interrupted, even your trades just lead to more damage. That kind of hurts. But look at that. Geonosis got one neutral win off of a falling there, and they already converted 71%. That's kill range for Bowser, baby.
Yeah, and at 131, you got that extra rage on top of it. If you can learn to survive, but can't quite find a way to land, Jocko, great coverage of landing options there.
And that landing option, woo, does protect, but the instant jab power dunk is gonna give you 34. And look at this, they're just using their burst options to completely cover everything Geonosis wants to do off the ledge. Jump, I got a little flick for you.
Geonosis, once again, being kept to the corner here. Ooh, I think Jocko wanted the spike there, but he couldn't quite land it. They'll take the power dunk, and that is 2 stocks off the board of Geonosis.
Yeah, George Washington University came here to hit hard and hit fast, as carrying Geonosis towards the edge of the stage with them, and that little touch of fire breath is actually going to give you go, but that was a bait. Not okay right now. You sent off stage. Terry's recovery was actually going to get through that. That was impressive to me, but dropping up right into the power geyser.
Was this the stock? Oh, he's able to get out of it once again. That tough guy armor helping.
Oh! Yeah, that's exactly what we need to do. A 3-stock for Jacko 83. Okay. Name is with that golden Terry, they're able to send the golden Bowser straight off the side. And what styling fashion. I felt like in the end, Jacko was probably going to win anyway, maybe with a 3-stock anyway. But what really sealed the deal was the fire breath giving them go. Because Bowser has the opportunity to kill at 80%, or at least put you at massive disadvantage. But just touching the edge of the fire breath, Jacko went into that on purpose.
Yeah, when Go is online for Terry, it is just so terrifying, especially even for a character like Bowser, because even though you can survive to those higher percents as Bowser, the combos are so much easier on a big body like you. And Terry only needs those few hits to really get you to those kill percents. So Geonosis, he's got his work cut out for him here in game 2.
Go meter being on turns your 0 to 30s to 0 to 60s, and your 60s to 90s to 60s to dead. Like, it's just, it gets rid of one of the combo phases between like low, mid, and high percent. There's just no low percent. You're just instantly up there. Running it back to PS2, see if Geonosis can turn things around. They had some good stuff early on there. See if they're a little better at closing out once they get their defensive options online.
And if you're wondering what the adaptation is for Geonosis, he's got to find a way out of the corner of the stage here, get some stage control, because Jocko kept him to the wall almost that entire first match. And even here, nair to down air.
Geonosis is able to get a little touch there, but survived, got free. I like the slower defensive play. I really do. But once Jacko 83 catches on, I feel like there's an opportunity to get a bigger punish. I'm curious to see how Geonosis is going to respond once Jacko 83 turns up the heat.
Yeah, but once again, Geonosis is caught in the corner once more, does make it back to center stage, and he does land the nair, but he wants that kill badly. He does not want Jacko to be at, that go percent. He's got him off stage. Go is online, and Jacko does make it back. So now danger territory for him here. That side B still surviving as Jacko.
Our guys are right there. Oh man, this is looking brutal right out the gate. The up smash read on the landing is good. And I like how they're trying to stay more aerial now, but going for that option on platform where they're not even near you. Getting a little panicky, but landing with that nair was a very good option. The stare down, literal tough guy right there, as he just watches Jacko 83.
Yeah, and once again, Geonosis has to find a way back to center stage. He does get there, but Jacko, just every conversion looks so clean from him right now.
Jacko 83. Now, it's kind of, again, in kill percent. We bring that up, but I don't feel like Geonosis is the kind of player to go for those crazy hard reads. And that's good when you're able to win the neutral, but Jacko 83 just had you choked out the entire time. And that is going to be 7 points on the board. I forgot they did get that one stock. But George Washington University, they have a habit of opening up huge.
Yeah, and excuse me, this was one of those matchups that we said going into it, Geonosis, it felt like this was going to be a problem for him. It's just a character that Bowser tends to struggle with because Terry can exploit a lot. It's like you said, the second Go comes online, Bowser's survivability just gets snapped in half, it feels like. And Jocko took full advantage of it. And on top of that too, Geonosis, it felt like you said, he wasn't starting to get desperate for kills, but he just could not really get anything going of his own volition.
Yeah, they had a lot of good ideas. I loved that moment where they got the falling nair at 0. It did 25% instead of a tech chase on platform, and then they waited. Because they knew they couldn't get the instant follow-up, so they were trying to get Jacko to pick an option. But then Jacko adapted right back by just going way high, not even dealing with that whatsoever. Completely diffusing the situation. It was a good idea from Geonosis, but ultimately it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and excuse me, this goes back to the type of, playstyle George Washington has. They are a team that just, like you said, they come out of the gate swinging, they control the pace of the matchup very well. And they've got so much depth on this roster that even a young player like Jocko, who's brand new to this scene and this team, if he can get this much of a lead off the start, Wichita State, it's going to be a struggle throughout today.
For sure. 100%. And as for getting into the latter half, George Washington University, they've got a lot of, hot new talent, but mostly their returning roster is where the shine, where the main part of it shines. So we'll see how they're going to be, going through it. Wichita State is always a little trickier. I mean, EGF, you have the luxury of every team having VODs on them, and we know the coach, EDM, on George Washington studies up. I'm wondering how much prep time they did for Wichita State, though.
Yeah, and Wichita State is one of those teams that, again, they were kind of middle of the pack last year, bubble playoffs, but couldn't quite sneak into them, and so they're looking to try and turn things around and right the wrongs of last year. Now, this is an experienced roster for the most part, but one of the new additions to this team, I believe, is going in next, and that is Sleepy Joe being locked in for the side of Wichita State. And Pyra Mithra the option versus Hooks, who we haven't seen since week 1, rocking the Incineroar.
And obviously Hooks made it onto the team. They're not bad. But this is going to be rough. You're going to have to abuse the fact that they're constantly swinging to get revenge online. But if you're too predictable with that, you're just going to get hit. I mean, as you can see, taken all the way up, 72% already. Doesn't even need Mithra's frame traps. Ooh, can't combo into that. Go for the... They actually did go for the footstool thing right there. I haven't seen anyone do that in forever.
Yeah, and Sleepy Joe has yet to be touched yet, to give you an idea. Oh, there's the footstool, but he couldn't quite get the follow-up he wanted. First real hit on the Sleepy Joe, but Hooks is in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, as they really want to get this kill with Pyra. But not having the frame data anymore is making it a little harder, but just running off with the down air is going to be enough. Back to Pyra, or Mithra now.
Look at all the damage that this character can rack up, and Hooks. I mean, this is the struggle, is that, like you said, you've got to find a way to do some damage on this character, but getting in on them is just so difficult when they're just so fast.
Ooh. Photon Edge, though, leave an opportunity to get the punish. An instant hard hit. But Incineroar can't really do anything about Pyra Mithra's recovery, which is one of their greatest weaknesses. So, it's going to be a hard reset. The tech roll away does save you from the forward smash, but at 0, like, these moves aren't really that safe until you get the revenge online. Now they're a lot safer and a lot deadlier. It's just going to be the dash attack, though.
Yeah, just get some percent on the board, because remember, Pyra and Mithra are relatively light, and Incineroar, he packs a punch. He wanted the spike on that side B, could not find the hitbox of it, so now Hook's in some danger. Is he gonna get spiked for it? Sleepy Joe off to a hot start.
Oh yeah, and now the air pressure on the platform is gonna give revenge. This isn't enough. The grab's gonna get rid of it too, so it's not even worth it. And then the Buster too. And man, it's option coverage right here. And Sleepy Joe is making sure that Hook cannot get any sort of traction. Going to be dropping down with the little whip. Get some percentage on there. Ooh, yoink! But we're not really going to finish it because there wasn't really a good, clean combo that we could get there to my knowledge.
That down air connecting into the up air, nearly killing. That dash attack should kill, though, and it does. Sleepy Joe, 2 stocks here in game number 1. Solid performance from him.
Yeah, and you said this is one of the new players from Wichita State coming out in a big way, honestly. Like, I'm fairly impressed. Very by the books, Pyra Mithra. I will say that. They play it like how you're supposed to play, like the archetype itself. You get the combos at low percent, you get the kills with Mithra, and then you get the higher percent kills with Pyra. That's just how you do it. And it did feel like they were getting punished a little bit for having the Pyra out, but it was never too bad. And they were always right back to Mithra. They were never having a desperation Pyra moment.
Yeah, and one of the things for Hooks, too, is that it felt like he was never... Incineroar has some combos, but I don't think he landed any of them. I think all of his damage was really just an overextension and punish for the most part throughout that set. And Incineroar, you kind of need that damage on them in the first place in order to land those strong hits to get those kills, but Hooks was just really on the back foot that entire match.
And playing for those single hits, it's so rough. I liked how they used the falling Alolan Whip at times to kind of mix up the shield options, but oftentimes it just wasn't enough. There were some good hard neutral wins, but when you can't really exploit the recovery at all, and you're trying to win in neutral against it, it can be a little bit rougher. We'll see how they adapt on their stage counter pick now. George Washington University's Hooks is now completely out of this. But Sleepy Joe, not really letting them breathe, but whew, an instant 38%.
Yeah, this is a small battlefield, and I actually like this one because it forces a lot more up-close interactions, and that means that chip damage that Hooks was thriving off of last game, he's going to have more opportunities to get it here in Game 2.
Yeah, as this wake up Alolan Whip, it just, again, very good option coverage. Long-lasting, strong hitbox to get off the tool. Now, I'm curious, Soy, do you think they're letting that drop on purpose, or is that just a legitimate play?
You know, man, every time I see that footstool, I get scared of what the follow-up is going to be. I really can't tell. It's something to watch for, though, as the set goes on.
Ooh. Right there in center stage, though. That was definitely an almost kill, and that is what you need to do to Pyramithra. It's scary as Incineroar, because you miss it once you're dead, but I do think it is worth it in situations like that where you see they got no jump.
Now Hooks with the lead. Gets hit by the side B once again. And he's starting to get the timing of it because you saw the parry, but the rest of those hitboxes just do so much work for him.
Yeah, they do have the revenge online, straight into the dash attack and grabbing them up top, sending them off stage. Sleepy Joe at a serious deficit right now. Hooks is showing they have the potential to bring this all the way back.
Look at the damage that he's done already. 84 and the stock clean back air there. Reading the recovery back to stage, and now Hooks. Oh, that's a 3-stock for him. Unfortunate air dodge from Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, and well, there will be Hooks taking it home. And honestly, some really good points on the board. We saw this a lot in the last game, the last set rather, where they'd win game 1, but then the adaptation would come out. And game 3 was always a little bit... When it's a slugfest, you know game 3 is going to be all out, a full-on barrage. Honestly, I kind of have to favor the Pyramithra, though, because I feel like Sleepy Joe did have some sauce. It was just hard for me to see how they were losing neutral a lot of the time. It felt like their hitboxes that were there just weren't there anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it went from, Mithra being able to pressure with all of her speed to all of a sudden Hooks was finding openings that he wasn't before. And I think part of it is because the raw damage output that Hooks can do. Remember, he couldn't really find combos in game number 1, but in game number 2, he was getting follow-up after follow-up off of just stray hits. That chip damage that we talked about just did so much for him in this game. And Pyramithra is one of those lighter characters with not as good of a recovery, so if you can keep them off stage, you can kind of start to get a sense of their movement. So that was a great adaptation from Hooks, but now the pressure shifts back to Sleepy Joe here, and you have to favor the way that he's able to play neutral with Mithra, but if you're relying on that Pyra's a lot more readable, a lot slower, a lot more predictable.
Yeah, that is Incineroar's whole thing, though. And by the way, I do have an update on whether that was the missed things were on purpose or not. A solid I don't know, except for one of them where they had it at 0% off stage and they just let them drop down into an edge guard situation. That's when it's not definitely on purpose, towards the edge.
So game 3 here on PS2, and that was quite the turnaround for Sleepy Joe.
No, you didn't hit me. Plagiarized commentary right there. But either way. Ooh, that's a nice conversion, though. Into the forward tilt. Hanging on ledge for a little too long because the nair pressure makes you a little nervous, makes you sweat. And Hooks knew that.
Yeah, that was a huge conversion. That's a good grab, though. Gets rid of the down B, and oh no, Hooks got it right back. Already got Sleepy Joe up to 47%.
Goes right into challenge them though, and Blazing Edge immediately will actually end up taking the stock on Incineroar. Ooh, that move's strong.
I'm actually kind of shocked that that move was able to connect because the sword has to come back to him afterward, and he was able to get that down air out just in time. Good switch here to Mithra too to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, I like the Mithra switch right here, but the drag down nair, that's not enough hits to do much, as the Alone Whip will beat it out. Now just dashing back and forth, looking for some sort of down tilt conversion, but not going to find it. Ooh, I like the nair. Send them up. I don't know if it's quite enough.
Ooh, that up B, that could have put Hooks in it. Okay, never mind. Just go all the way down there for him. I was gonna say that up B from Incineroar could have put Sleepy Joe in a bad position if he had gotten the strong hitbox of it, but Sleepy Joe then just goes all the way downstairs to clean up Hooks' stock, and he's already working on stock number 3 here. Quick 70%.
Yeah, 70%, and you're able to get through in the end right there, and whiffing that counter, that's huge. But you actually do get one in the end. If that had connected right there, that would have been huge. Just the very last touch of the Alone Whip. Oh, look at this movement right now. Just threatening so many options. You don't know what they're going to go for, but if you threaten too much and don't actually follow through, you're just going to get yourself grabbed, and Hooks clutches it out in the end, sending them flying off the rope straight out of here.
What a turnaround from Hooks. After it looked so rough in game number 1, he's able to turn around, gets a 3-stock in game number 2, and that 1-stock victory in game number 3. So Hooks with the adaptation once again coming in clutch.
Yeah. I really do feel like a lot of that was off of... They were able to land. And I feel like they were doing that a lot more based off of threatening options. I mean, Mithra rather, is a character that can really just swing away at you, no holds barred. But if you're mixing up whether you're going to trade with her with an aerial, or get the counter, or drift away, it made Sleepy Joe a little less confident in their juggling, I felt like. And when you're not getting the juggles, the huge juggles on Incineroar, then you're not really playing to the strengths of a combo-based character like Mithra, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, part of that set that I guess I made note of is that, you know, we talked about how when you can adapt from game 1 to game 2 and then into game 3, have that comeback style of mentality. That's the second time that Hooks has pulled off a comeback like this. Way back in week number 1, he actually fell in game number 1 to Seton Hall, and then the next 2 games he came out in full force. So this is an Incineroar that really I think should be feared and noted, that as the set goes on, I think he gets stronger.
Yeah, an adaptation-based player. That's really what it is. You see the habits, you have your data collection game, or at least what they say. They try to win game 1, but well, you're no MKLeo. But you are able to bring it back in a big way once you figure out how to avoid their big options and hit them with yours. That's what Incineroar is all about. Just one big option after another, and hopefully not more than 3 to take a stock.
Yeah, and as we get ready for set number 3 here, looks like Cranberry going in on the side of George Washington, and there it is. The Young Link player for Wichita State.
Ooh, but there it is. Kind of getting shut out by the Flaming Sword. Roy, constant pressure, down, up, jab, whatever it is. It's so hard to get around it until you go right through it and then suck them back into your own tornado right there.
So there it is. Oh, that's not a safe roll-in for there it is. Cranberry reading it well and landing the strong hit of that forward smash. So off to an early start. I was going to say there it is on some character swap. Last year he went to a lot of just regular Link, but opting for Young Link here.
Yeah. I don't think that's a terrible option, especially when you're trying to be more consistent with your kill confirms. But when you go for your kill confirm right that and you accidentally burn your double jump instead of jumping off the stage, it's a simple mistake to make, especially online, but it can be so brutal, as you saw there.
And remember, every single stock matters, so that SD is huge. As a 3 stock here from Cranberry would really, put the pressure on Wichita State, to say the least. It would almost ice this game, as they need something on the board here to keep themselves alive, and Cranberry will fall to that dash attack, so there it is on the board, but he's got a lot more work to do.
Ooh! See that smash? They were not looking to mess around. But now it's just the poking. You want to get them to a percentage where your kill confirms are actually kill confirms. No jab back air that time. Instead, just jab forward air, but even so, somehow they got the stock, or the jump off in the chaos. And Cranberry is able to get quite a dominant game. I do want to say they were really choking out there it is, but it did feel like the pressure got to there it is a couple times in ways it really shouldn't have.
I mean, even after the SD, it felt like Cranberry was just still all over this matchup. It felt like Cranberry's game plan never changed, whereas there it is, his game plan, it went from, I have a game plan, to, okay, the game plan's not working, where is my second game plan? You know, he just never got the time to adapt.
Yeah, I agree. And without the time to adapt, against Roy, it's a really hot commodity. I mean, the confidence with which Cranberry moves around the stage, throws out these kill confirms, it's constant. And it's not swinging at ghosts. It's swinging at where every single possibility, every single timeline. I've got this theory. Roy players see every single branching timeline of where you could be. And they're hitting one of them. But either way, it just makes you scared to take any of those possible options. And when you get that freeze response, it's fight, flight, or freeze. And that is what happens sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cranberry, I think in this set in particular, just reading the right option more than not. I mean, even off the start, that first stock, when you read the roll into a Roy forward smash, it never feels good. And it's another one of those, I've said it a couple of times today, but it's another kind of sucker punch, right? Just knocks the wind out of you, and you take a step back and you go, okay, now I'm at a deficit. Now how do I play? And Cranberry just never gave him the time to really come up with a second strategy.
Yeah, as they play around this platform, go for the up tilt, but it's really just kind of throwing out these options. But now Cranberry does have the advantage, and once they get that, they are actually able to throw out options just as fast as Roy, as we can see.
Yeah, and I actually like this this play from There It Is so far. Even though he's had a couple of miscues on these projectiles, like the boomerang being thrown the wrong way. I'm sorry, that down tilt at ledge scared me. I thought he was going to get the follow-up off of that. But it's playing more passive. It's slowing down the pace of the game. It's not allowing Cranberry to control this match. He's got to think a bit more about his approaches.
Yeah, but ooh, going all the way down right there, but then carrying Cranberry right back up with him. More or less an even game. Jab back air not going to connect right there. A little slow, a little too high percent, but I think that might be the jump. Yeah, they're not making it back.
Those down tilts have been massive for Cranberry, and I think There It Is had the right idea off the bat. Just fade a little bit away, just to give yourself that extra space. But he fades a little bit too far. Doesn't judge the upbeat correctly. So There It Is at another deficit. Kind of an awkward fallout there from Cranberry, but it's massive too because it gives him this opening, looking for that jab, looking for the down tilt, and There It Is stuck in the corner.
Yeah, another grab, gonna connect. And the Nair at ledge, he's gonna actually kill. Catching that option very well. Now you do struggle a little bit with how do you get the follow-up. Ooh, right there. That's some very nice stuff. I love the back air sending them back towards the ledge too, keeping Cranberry in disadvantage the entire time.
Ooh, that was almost a big punish from Cranberry. He's got to be a little bit more cautious about those up Bs that he's throwing out. And that is... Even the weak hit a back air cleaning up the stock.
When you hear that fly swatter sound and it still kills, that's how you know you're at too high a percent. What's in the up B? But you're able to survive until you throw that up smash. That is an option that Rory can punish from anywhere on stage. But forward smash in the wrong direction, that bad roll read is going to actually cost you.
Yeah, and Cranberry, I feel like he's starting to get back into the swing of things here. As he's got, There It Is, all the way up to 50%. But that down air could turn things around. Doesn't quite take the stock yet, but it gives him stage control.
Oh, and there's the tech chase right there, but not quite able to get the follow-up. Look at that. The patience from Cranberry waiting out, icing out. There it is.
That patience was huge. And Cranberry, oh, I like that idea. Hasn't gone for that all game. The ledge trump in the back air. That's going to be a grab, though. Is this a stock? Back throw won't kill yet, but he's got Cranberry off stage. Boomerang interrupts him, but it's a little too late.
Yeah, it does keep him from getting a clean follow-up on them, but they're right back into it. Jab into up air, and now jab again. They're able to DI out of the jab back air range, but they're still in disadvantage. Using an aerial off the ledge, that's a dangerous game against a sword, but you're able to survive until it's center stage. The swift slice down will see your fate. Cranberry, more or less winning it out handedly for George Washington University, keeping up their dominance, showing that they did not come here to be upset.
Yeah, that's a huge win for them, and I believe that puts things statistically out of reach, so they secure the W here this week. I mean, even if it wasn't secured, it would still take a lot for Wichita State to come back. But honestly, that was, I think, one of the best performances from Cranberry that I think I've seen personally in a long time. I mean, Cranberry, he looked good back in week number 1, but this was a match where There It Is a veteran of the scene. He's got solid performances on the board, and Cranberry just took control of that match and ran away with it, it felt like.
Yeah, Cranberry has always felt like a little bit of an inconsistent player to me so far, but I feel like their coach has really helped them improve that week by week. And the moments of brilliance we saw from Cranberry are starting to take over. And now it's all brilliance with moments of weakness. And the more they polish it up, the better Cranberry is looking. And I can't wait to see, if this is only week 3, how good they'll be way down the line.
Yeah, I completely agree. And on top of that, too, like, Cranberry is one of those, I think he is a momentum-based player. And so the fact that he, against a young Link, you might not be able to control the pace of the match as much because they've got those projectiles to deal with. But the fact that he was able to find his footing and just go from there was really, really entertaining to watch.
Yeah. As now, we are getting ready to go into our next match, Wichita State they are out of this, but they still want to put up as best a fight as they can, get some points on the board. It's fighting for honor, especially, this early in the season, you are also fighting for tangible rewards, but it's also fighting for honor, let's be real.
Yeah, and this Wichita State team, even though they fall to 1-2 after this week, I mean, if you look at their schedule, they open up against tough teams. I mean, they lost week 1 to Mississippi State, our defending champions. They're coming off a win against Marquette, who is another one of those teams that last year was right in the thick of it, right in the middle of the pack. And then next week, they get DePaul University, who was right there with them in grand finals. So it's a tough opening schedule. And these are the type of matchups for Wichita State where they get to kind of showcase how close they are to that championship caliber.
Yeah. As George Washington University, they are going to be sending in Ken Manito. I'm actually struggling a little bit. Soy, what can you tell us about Ken Manito?
We saw Kimonito last week for George Washington, and he was the Rosalina Luma player.
That's it.
Yeah, and he looked really good. I think Rosa had some changes this patch, but nothing too damaging. And going up against Linney here for Wichita State, one of the very few Mega Man in this league.
Yeah, I mean, the only other notable one is Matt Beach, one of the best players on the balls. They're like big shoes to fill. Hitting them with that forward smash, which, by the way, you can actually charge them more than other smash attacks. But either way, that's not going to help very much right here, right now, as Kimonito isn't really dealing with Blue Shield as well as they could, but that is just their first interaction with it, and they're able to get the bread and butter sending Liddy up.
Yeah, things relatively even, but Linney doing a great job of pressuring, nearly catching that down air. And one of the problems here for Kimonito, I think, is that they just don't have the ability to properly space Luma for a lot of their setups because of all of the projectiles that Linney can throw out.
Kimonito struggling a little get off the ledge. I love the up tilt right there, covering the approaching aerial, not worried about it at all. But that's going to force them to use the jump. Very predictable recovery because of it. Linney going to be caught by that down air.
That down air was massive too. It's one of those disjointed down airs that can cover, but ooh, going low is Linney and cleaning up stock number 1.
I saw Luma following Linney down there and I was terrified for them, but they got the trade and they got back to stage just fine and dandy. Now you got Luke on ledge though. Rosalina covering all options. Ting-ponging into Luma. That's some nice stuff right there.
And that's the danger, and that's why Linney has to find a way to deal with Luma, because when Luma gets set up, you can see the damage that Kimonito can do as he cleans up that second stock.
The parry right there, but Luma's not going to benefit all that much from it. And ooh, I think that's a jump gone as well. Drifting back though, able to get the snap to ledge, and now you actually have them in disadvantage. Did you see that little interaction? Ooh, Brittany was stuck in hit stun for forever.
Ooh, and I love Kimonito using the falling Luma to try and edge guard Linney, but Linney able to make it back, and he really wants that next stock, but he's dipping so low for it. Forward smash, gonna get punished. Kimonito, 2 stock.
That wasn't just a dashback forward smash, that was a run. Like, they were all the way to center stage by the time they're like, all right, you're landing about here, and kaboom.
Yeah, I mean, Kimonito, what felt like a struggle at first because of kind of interrupting Luma numerous times throughout that first stock was Linney. It turned into, all of a sudden, Kimonito turning on a dime, basically, just finding all those setups. His control over Luma, and I mean, that's just one of the things you have to master with this character, right? Is where Luma's going to be when they get hit, when you get hit, things like that. But it's another thing to find those setups against a character who has a relatively easier time dealing with Luma.
Yeah. I felt like there was some good ledge trapping at times, but it just wasn't enough to truly take the stock. Especially when Rosalina doesn't have to interact as directly as some other characters do. Like, her hitboxes are so big, and she can always send in Luma as well. She's got the star bits to kind of push her way in. It was a little tougher to get those long-range ledge traps that Mega Man usually thrives on, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of that just plays to Kimonito's game plan, right? He was able to drift away from a lot of hits. I mean, the one stock that Kimonito lost, Lenny had to dip so low. He was practically in the bubble on the bottom of the screen in order to seal away that stock. And like you said, Luma was still following him. That could have easily been turned around on Lenny.
Now, center platform, while it's here, is going to be the name of the game. Those higher platforms are nice for mixing up recoveries and everything, but look at how Kimonito has set up camp there, and they do not want to let go until they go out for the tech chase, in which case they're going to get reversal. And now they're on top of the platform, and that's no fun.
I actually like the use of that down B from Kimonito, even though it doesn't do too much. It just shows that, you know, he's got that move in his back pocket. We didn't see him use it at all in game number 1, but it's just something else to have Lenny worry about throughout the rest of this match.
For sure. As his running forward with that is going to actually take a hit. And, well, Lenny does actually have the potential here. Oh, that was scary, though. Not only were you holding away for the dash attack, but you also could have been caught by that. That's actually going to do a sizable bit of damage to Luma. As Lenny now survives the pressure for the time being.
I really like what Lenny's been doing right now. His spacing just feels like it's on point, and it feels like the setups are there as well too. The second he gets that side B onto Luma, or excuse me, Rosalina, he knows exactly where to be, what follow-up he wants.
And Lenny catching a taxi right back into stage thanks to the platform. Gonna avoid the ledge trapping, and without Luma, Kimonito could get a ton set up. That up smash out of shield actually going to be doing quite a bit of work. Corner? Not going to be enough quite yet, but man, Kimonito actually kind of struggling to find this kill. It's just forward smashing again.
Ooh, that back air actually able to take the stock and answered right back by Lenny. So both stocks off the board, or starting at fresh stocks, but Lenny up a whole stock here. It's going to put the pressure on Kimonito to make a play.
Yeah, trying to shred that shield a little bit with the blue shield, but it's not enough to really pressure it. Luma just watching this happen. Ooh. We get some mileage. I like that right there, making it harder for Kimonito to really commit to an offstage option when you know that sticky bomb is there.
He's done a good job of keeping Kimonito to the corner here, but Kimonito able to get back to stage, and this could be a problem for Lenny.
Tech chase right here. Down smash covers everything. There really wasn't much Lenny could have done. Maybe get up attack, maybe. But either way, Kimonito still a chance in this game. Yeah, they brought it back 2 stocks.
Yeah, huge comeback from him, and a little bit of a combo starter. That's jump gone from Lenny as well. Or no, it isn't. I thought he'd already used it, but he kept it in his back pocket.
With the landing there, right there, this is the most interaction they've had. Like, they are scrapping. Bye? I guess? And that's the issue with scramble situations. When you are trying to get your input out faster, the last thing you're worried about is DI on a kill throw that should be nowhere close to killing.
Yeah, I was, I don't, you couldn't see it, but my jaw dropped. I was like, what? That killed? What? Hello? There no kill sparks, no nothing. And I think it's, you know, just like you said, just wasn't ready to DI it. And I do think though that game it felt a lot better for Liddy. I mean, he was in control of that matchup for a long time. His spacing through the first two stocks, I really have to commend. The setups that he was able to do, that side B being able to that sticky bomb being landed on Luma. That's something that I think as with a character that has an absorb, it probably just shouldn't happen, right? It just you shouldn't let that bomb get through in the first place. So the fact that he was landing it was really good. It means his setups are starting to work. But like you saw, Kimonito, he started to adapt as that set got on, and he started to find more and more stray and stronger hits.
Now, going into this next one, I'm curious if they're going to pull back a little more, retreat into their shells, or if they're feeling confident in I don't know. Like, I liked a lot of what Caminito was getting off of these landing nairs. Like, it was unexpected. And Linny eventually punished them for it, but only after 80%.
Yeah, landing nair seemed really good for Kimonito, but you can tell right now he is struggling to get in. Linny, untouched so far, wanted the spike, couldn't find it. And it always feels so dangerous for Linny to go off stage because the second Linny goes off for one of these edge guards, ooh, that's a 0 to death for Linny. Never mind, go off stage all you want.
Yeah, and well, Linny now is able to just play this lead, but Luna, get down, Mr. President. Takes care of Caminito, and now Caminito is able to get in there and brawl, but they don't have Luma with them. Goes for falling there, but it's not as lethal without Luma there. Oh, interrupting the recovery, but it's not quite the spike hitbox.
Yeah, and it put a little bit of pressure on Linny, but look at how well Linny is dealing with Luma once again. I mean, Luma's surviving here. That's huge for Kimonito, but he's just done a good job of making Luma kind of a non-factor in neutral.
Yeah, and now, oh, all the way out, Caminito. 3 stocks to 1, and this is a healthy stock based on how late Caminito is getting a lot of the kills.
83% means Kimonito is really going to struggle. Luma actually eating the down air, but will survive. And Kimonito really has to play on point if he wants to get back into this one, because Linny doing a fantastic job in neutral right now, but that's a big nair. Can't quite get the follow-up.
Good jump read regardless, though. It's a nice statement. We need more than just statements if you're going to get this massive comeback. We saw Linny almost do it earlier. They can do it now. Blue shield versus regular shield. I called out the landing nairs. I'm seeing a lot of them now. Like, maybe a little too much. It might just be a kill setup, a desperation play, but either way, if it's your only option, it's going to get called out.
And this is so much time. Linny took away Luma very early, and that was nearly 30 seconds without Luma. Kimonito could do nothing to find a way in.
Yeah, nothing at all. As Linny is actually able to get a win on the board for Wichita. And some sizable points. I mean, 8 points, right? Like, not bad for Wichita State, especially considering you're still going to Game 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Game 1 looked very strong for Kimonito. It felt like he was starting to figure out the neutral, and then Linny, the adaptation just came through, and he just realized, look, if I take away Luma, that's half the kill power of this character off the board. And Kimonito, and a lot of the setups for Kimonito are dependent on Luma's spacing. And if Luma's gone, it's half a character is what it feels like. And so Linny, just great job mitigating a lot of Kimonito's options.
Yeah, and it just felt so much less safe. And maybe it's even a more psychological thing, like you don't see Luma there and you're okay with approaching and it catches them off guard. But either way, Lumi was just finding so many more openings. Again, and it felt like once there was a deficit, there were a little more committal options, and Lumi didn't fall into that trap. they would just come down with the back air, get the punish on the forward smash, and just reset neutral. Or even not reset neutral. Put yourself in advantage by knocking them off the stage, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so many of those back airs and forward airs were so clutch from Linny, and that's something that we saw a lot of last year. But I don't want to say when it mattered the most, but against some of the hierarchy of the EGF, it just fell a little bit short. The raw kill power wasn't quite there. He didn't have the earlier percent damage that he kind of needed. But here against Kimonito, he was able to get that early chip damage on this character, where it felt like it should have been more difficult. He was able to get in and do work. So fantastic stuff to Linny.
Yeah, now it's looking like Rip Van Winkle coming out from George Washington University, looking to finish strong, going up against N-City. And the immediate deep breathing, that's 18%, off of a back air. That's the power of Wii Fit Trainer, baby.
Yeah, these are two of the heaviest hitters on these teams, really. The anchors coming in last year. And Rip Van Winkle, we saw last week, I believe he had a little bit of a struggle against William and Mary, so looking to kind of bounce back. But N-City, this is one of the more consistent point getters on this roster, and he is struggling right now. Eats an early death, and only 37 on Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah, and now the Nair 2 to send them off stage. It was a reverse Nair, so maybe hoping for a back air, but they couldn't quite connect it. And N-City is a solid stock behind right now, but they're okay playing the long game. And look at this, sort of like circle jumps, just coming in and threatening menacingly.
Yeah, and couldn't quite connect on that Nair back to stage. Does manage to block the neutral via Rip Van Winkle, but right now Rip Van Winkle, and I think we've mentioned this before, when Rip Van Winkle is on the never mind my point. I was gonna say he's not afraid to play to the corners of the stage, but N-City reminding him why it's so dangerous.
Yeah, trying to fall right to ledge there, that's an easy punish. As they are going to try and, just running off that platform. No need to contest that when there's a Palu underneath nairing.
These nairs just do so much work for Palutena, and N-City, he's trying to find his way back in to get some combos on this character, but Rip Van Winkle just doing a very good job of making himself hard to track down.
But they are able to get that, and now looking a little more even. Yeah, the second nair, you knew it was coming. That can set up into so much, but the up there right there, and Rip Van Winkle is going to get a little more mileage. Just threatening this to loop the sun over and over again, but systematic, inch by inch, the space is taken away by N-City.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good snipe by the soccer ball there of Rip Van Winkle. Wanted the forward smash, but the dash attack saving him for now, but still on his last stock. N-City, can you get anything off of this?
Get the back air right there. Deep breathing, being delayed. I don't know if that would have hit anyway, but that was cutting it a little too close for comfort for me personally. Pressuring with the forward tilt, with the back air at a shield, just flinging the legs back. There's enough points on the board for George Washington University. Rip Van Winkle showing why. I think they're the team captain, right, this year? Yeah. Coming in as the anchor after one little loss to say, okay, Wichita. You had some good showings. Let's let the big boys handle this one.
Yeah, I mean, Rip Van Winkle really did a fantastic job in that matchup. And, I mean, it's one thing to, when you have two heavy hitters, it's one thing to play the match close. It's another thing to kind of grab control of the pace of a matchup. And that's something Rip Van Winkle does really well. But you saw N-City had his moments. You got to remember, N-City also SD'd one stock, and he was able to catch Rip Van Winkle on that spike. So NCity is not out of this by any means, but he certainly does have to clean up a lot of the play, things like the SD. And after that SD, he had a bunch of trades, things like the Explosive Flame trading with Soccer Ball that just never really played to his favor.
Not at all. And it didn't feel like those trades ever happened in a place where it gave them advantage. If anything, Rip Van Winkle was the one benefiting from it. Like, they'd whiff the Explosive Flame all the way off stage, and they'd hit it maybe in the center stage, but like you said, they'd get hit by some other projectile while they're going at it.
Yeah, that Explosive Flame, it's very good, but it also takes a minute for the move to come out, and it pressures so far away that Rip Van Winkle has the faster projectiles to be able to punish that move. And so I think there's a real big emphasis here in game number 2 for NCity to get the early lead, to find a way to put the pressure on Rip Van Winkle, because if you're going to continue to take trades like that, it only works while you're in the lead. So you've got to find a way to stop taking those trades while at a deficit.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, there we go. We're getting back into it now. And if you could just fill for 1 second for me, Soy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, here on game number 2, we're here at Town and City. Rip Van Winkle off to an early start. Quick 66 on NCity and 19 on his own. And again, I think just the control from Rip Van Winkle so far, it's something that we see week in and week out from him. As NCity, he's kind of hunting for openings. And Palutena can kind of afford to do that because she's got such good aerials and such good kill pressure. But it's something that Rip Van Winkle is starting to catch on to.
Yeah, definitely is. And with the deep breathing online, not as much respect as you would really need to. I mean, with Palu, you'd have to acknowledge that you're probably going to win most trades outright. So even if it's a very threatening hitbox, you've got to have faith in your hitboxes, but also have faith in your angles right there. Rip Van Winkle was in position to get the spike anyways, but either way, I guess the threat was too much.
Yeah, unfortunate for NCity, but like you said, Rip Van Winkle had the coverage either way, so NCity now down a stock. And these back airs out of shield, too, have done so much work for Rip Van Winkle. Look at the damage that they do.
Yeah. Ooh. They're a little too far down, though. NCity really pressured them down there, making sure they could not have a safe route back home. With that back air to shield again. Ooh. The little tap, that's all you need. First
Snipe with... Yeah, great snipe with the soccer ball. NCity is able to make it back, though, and NCity really... I mean, you can tell he just wants to hit Rip Van Winkle off stage, make him respect the stage control, but playing around this ledge, and NCity just does not have a great answer for it. Forward tilt so quick, cleaning up stock number 2.
From the jabs right there. And again, every little smack, every little trade while deep breathing is up hurts so much. But even so, Fit Trainer just hits like a truck anyways, even without the breathing on. They went all the way in for that 85% off that one combo. Get caught by the Explosive Flame at the edge, and they're able to get the anti-air with the up air. A chance right now.
The chance is all some of these players need, and we'll see what NCity can make of it. Good nair loops into that forward air, and the pressure is on here, but again, the kill threat of Rip Van Winkle has to be in the back of NCity's mind, as NCity already at 85.
Yeah, Rip Van Winkle. Ooh, that was a very high up air. That could have killed right there and then, but the get off me tool right there. Not going to get caught by the Explosive Flame again either. Going for these landing airs, the back airs, is enough. Charging up that sun. Are they going to find the chance to use it? Ooh, I like that. Just forcing the hitbox.
And I like that use of neutral beam, but the out of shield back air once again got caught jumping too many times, and Rip Van Winkle seals away set number 5.
That had to be at least a couple I don't know how many stocks were taken, but the back air at a shield, honestly, it's impressive. It comes flinging right out. It's incredibly powerful. Good stuff on them for their use of it. As, yeah, George Washington University continues making their statements. They fell a little short against William and Mary, but they're not looking to be a middle-of-the-pack team. They're looking to be, at the very least, just outside the middle of the pack, just above the top echelon, and maybe they'll break into it towards the end in a surprise run like they did last year.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see. They're off to a very good start this season, and it's thanks to players like Rip Van Winkle, who have really, against solid players, had great performances. If he can keep up this type of momentum, George Washington is a threat to the top of this league. But unfortunately for Wichita, they have to walk away with a loss here. But there was some good moments for them to take away here. I mean, you saw it later in those sets. They were starting to adapt. They started to come up with game plans. They just need the depth of their roster to really shine through, and they might be able to, claw their way back into this one. But unfortunately for them, George Washington, this was their week.
Yeah, and well, to get more info about how this became their week, we're going to hopefully be getting the chance to talk to George Washington University's coach, the esteemed EDM. And, well, we're hoping to get that on in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with some extremely important insight into George Washington University's team dynamics in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to EGFC. We are here with the coach of George Washington University. Yeah, we did
Yes.
get the full name on stream. It's EDM. How you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well. How about yourself, man?
Hey, fantastic after this showing your players put on. And I've got to ask, your players have been hyping up your coaching methods every single time I've talked to them. So, like, what do you credit the secret to your players' eternal allegiance?
I think it's nothing special. It's just you got to see a bad habit, and you got to tell them it's a bad habit. And I think the biggest difference is, as much as everyone hates, getting online and grinding stuff out, a lot of this game is just experience. And I feel like a lot of people have really bad habits that are very common. So once you're able to identify those things, it's really helpful for the players to see those things. Actually, not just talk about them, but when they're playing, if they have a bad jump habit, you hit them in the air too much. You play Piranha Plant, you just have a Patooey in the air, they run into it. It helps them work on their habits, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was curious, as the coach, I mean, this roster, it feels like everyone can kind of turn on a dime and just turn on the Jets. What do you think is your biggest strength as a team?
I'd say we can really switch up the roster. So for the most part, we have, some people that you've been seeing repeatedly. But I mean, we've debuted a Terry, and he's not even close to our best, even though he performed the best. I'd say we're pretty level. And the nice part is they practice together, and they tell each other, like, hey, you're doing this wrong. And then, I try and come in, we do some VOD reviews, things like that. But I'd say the team's very well balanced in the sense that they do well against zoners. They have a lot of experience against all sorts of character archetypes. And I feel like that's really helpful, especially since a lot of teams are carried by the either matchup inexperience or, Wi-Fi, a very projectile-based playstyle. I mean, we have zoners that are carried online, but they're complemented by other players that can counter that playstyle as well. So it balances itself out.
Yeah, and your players really hyped up that sort of complementary team lineup that you just mentioned. And one thing George Washington is, well, I'd say it's the thing you're most well known for in this league, is getting those huge upsets, specifically at the end of last year. And even though you're coming in hot already, and is it really an upset if you're winning, do you feel like your team is upset ready going in? Like, do you think you're going to be taking some big names?
I'd say for sure. I mean, we have some players who have a lot of potential, but they really underperform. I'm not going to name names. You know who you are, Seth. But overall, I feel like they're able to deliver. And if you can get them to consistently deliver at the level in which they're capable, then I feel like we can beat about anybody. Because, I mean, I've seen some of the leagues. Some of them have very, very top-heavy teams. I mean, there's a couple well-known players maybe on a couple teams, but everyone else, they're not nearly as good. I feel like overall, we really can beat anybody, which is just nice. I'm really excited about that. And I feel like going in, we can just about upset anybody. We just need to make sure everyone's playing at their best. You don't have plays like we had today with the Rosalina player. That was really sad to see, but, we're going to work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Next week, you guys have one of the titans of the EGF and the Smash scene. You guys get DePaul University, the independent conference champions from last year. So how do you prepare for a colossal matchup like that?
I mean, we're the upset team, so I feel like if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be us. And I feel like how we prepare isn't just VOD review, it's practice with specific things in mind. A lot of people just say, oh, we're going to look at the VODs. I mean, that's half the battle. You got to look at the VODs. You got to realize, like, okay, there are habits that they have, there are characters that they have in their roster. Okay, but we need to practice specifically in mind to counter those things. Not just be aware of them, but to have playstyles that are more conscious of these things so we can sort of beat these habits. And if they don't have any bad habits, per se, that are really obvious, then we're going to do our best just to make sure that our game plan is so solid that we can't really go in and, lose.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. I mean, it seems like you're doing a good job. We were just talking earlier on stream, I'm not sure if you were watching, about like how much some of these players have improved since just week 1.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see how they go for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. A lot of the players have gotten better. I mean, there are some people, they used to be Fox mains, Now they're playing Bowser. They're still getting used to their characters and stuff like that. And, there's all sorts of people who, you may see them play this character, but they just picked it up for online. So if you think they're good with this character, we've got even better characters in store, things like that we can switch from, just for a deeper roster, which makes things nice. So we're excited going in, and I feel like even after this week, going forward, we're going to be playing against some really good teams. There's some great teams in this league, and I feel like I'm a little sad about today's performance, but even though we won, we're just going to try and beat out these habits and focus on the W next week.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, and good luck with the preparation, especially for DePaul. But for now, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for giving us this insight.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I just want to say also, the league, you guys do a great job. So thank you again to the people hosting it and also you commentators who are really great. So thanks.
Thank you. Hey, always appreciated. And, well, that's going to be all that for this game. But we do have one more tonight, so stick around. We'll be getting into it very, very soon. In just a few minutes, we have our last game of the night.